Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wolfpacker Show. My name's Ethan McDowell. I am here with Noah Fleischman. We are here for another game preview episode. This week, we're talking all about Louisiana Tech, NC State's Week 3 opponent. The Wolfpack is 1-1, coming off a blowout loss to Tennessee. If you want to hear us talk about the Tennessee game, we published a reaction show on Sunday. Go check it out. All of our thoughts, all of the negativity that came out of that game. It's all there if you want to go take all of that in. Today, we're going to be talking about where we want to see NC State take steps forward. In reality, this game should not be close. Louisiana Tech is not a good Group of 5 team. They have won 3 games in each of the past 3 seasons, 3 straight 3-9 campaigns. We're going to talk about what this version of the Bulldogs looks like. We're going to talk about how NC State matches up with this squad. And then we are going to spend a big chunk of this show just talking about where the pack goes from here. Where do we want to see the pack take steps forward to get to the level that we thought they'd be playing at by this time this year? Before we do that, a quick housekeeping note. Noah and I are both writers for the Wolfpacker.com. That is NC State's site on the On3 network, the fastest growing college football, basketball recruiting site out there. I highly recommend joining it. You can go on there. We're going to be running a sale next week for Clemson week. You can get 50% off your annual subscription. It's a great deal. It comes out to just under $5 a month billed annually. And we post team analysis, recruiting scoops, all sorts of stuff over there that we're going to touch on these podcasts, but we get way more in depth over on the Wolfpacker.com. Highly recommend you go check it out. Okay, Noah, let's talk some football. It is week 3. Or you know what, Noah, before we talk football, actually, I want to talk about some kind of off-topic news in the NC State world, some naming rights news that, when basketball season rolls around and you're typing into your GPS to find PNC Arena, that's not going to be the right name for it anymore, is it, Noah?
It's not. Lenovo Center is here, announced today. 10-year deal, $60 million, going to the Centennial Authority that owns the building, operates the building, all that. We got to come up with a nickname though, because Lenovo Center is kind of long. So I think this is something we have to workshop throughout the year. The LC,
the L Center doesn't have a good ring to it.
Maybe the LC does. I don't know. Maybe play with the computer theme. I don't know. We got time, but basketball season's approaching. We've got Media Day next week for NC State, then ACC Media Day, and a few weeks after that, then it's basketball season. So we got a month. Maybe I'll ask Kevin Keats what he has any ideas. But he might. He's full of ideas, so maybe he'll have a good idea for it.
There you go. But yeah, the era of PNC Arena is over. Lenovo Center is here, and so just don't be surprised when you roll around tailgate this weekend or something and see some new signage up on the arena.
Yeah, they're working on it now. They were putting some up yesterday. I don't think they're going to be uncovered by the weekend. The wind might do some damage there. But I think they're having an official unveiling ceremony on the 19th, so a week from today. So, but yeah, you'll see some construction action. There were some cranes over there yesterday. You definitely will see no PNC Arena signage on the building anymore, which kind of looked naked when we saw it yesterday.
It did. You're right. All right, let's go back to football here. Let's talk about Louisiana Tech. The Bulldogs are 1-0. They won their season opener over Nichols, 25-17. Nichols is an FCS team. So, NC State, the outside perception is they struggled with Western Carolina, and they won that game by 17. Louisiana Tech really struggled against an FCS team. Nichols kept it close for pretty much this entire game. The big storyline for this matchup in general, just the number that jumps out at me, is they turned the ball over 5 times in their season opener. 5 times. And they had a new starting quarterback in there who had to leave the game with an injury. He is expected to play. That's Jack Turner. He is expected to be available for this matchup. But, they like I said, they threw 3 interceptions. They fumbled twice. They actually fumbled 3 times, just losing 2 of them. And that kept Nichols in the game despite the FCS program had 200 yards of total offense. So Louisiana Tech was trying to give Nichols that game, essentially. And I mean, this should be a decisive win for NC State. When you were looking at Louisiana Tech, Noah, what kind of stood out about the Bulldogs? Is there anything that you think that how they maybe could challenge NC State in this matchup?
Yeah, there's two people. Obviously, when you look at this Louisiana State team, it's hard, but they do have a SEC transfer linebacker, Kobe Fields, who made an impressive debut against Nichols. 12 tackles, had 2.5 TFLs, 1.5 sacks. He was doing it all. This guy sat out last year, but before that was at South Carolina and Louisiana State, otherwise known as LSU. So he's good. And then, they have a running back in Marquise Crosby, who's good. And
Yeah,
they ran the ball 41 times last week. Granted, it was only for 109 yards, so 2.7 yards per carry. Not great, but he's a back that can do it all. He ran for 918 yards and 9 touchdowns 2 years ago before having an injury-riddled 2023 campaign. He's an explosive player. Dave Doran talked about him on Monday. He's a guy that if NC State's defense isn't holding up against the run well, he could do it. But I think this is a game where if Nichols was able to hold Louisiana Tech to less than 3 yards a carry, NC State's front and the linebackers should be able to take care of the job here. But if he does get out in space, that's a guy that can do some damage on this defense.
yeah. As far as Louisiana Tech's defense goes, like they looked good against Nichols. They held them to 1.7 yards per carry. Obviously, going from Nichols to NC State is quite a step up in competition, but they didn't have that it was a far from anemic rushing defense for Louisiana Tech. And that's an area that NC State needs to take a step forward in running the ball. So I think it'll still be a decent test to see if they can establish a rhythm. I mean, at this point, no, I just want to see NC State establish a rushing rhythm against anybody. I don't care what the competition's like. They just need to have a consistent running game. And this is a good chance to see what they've got there. Nichols carried the ball 37 times for 62 yards. So we'll see how the Pack does in that area. Offensively, you mentioned Crosby. I think he is definitely the player to know. He's going to be wearing number 3 on Saturday. So the running back wearing number 3 is definitely the guy to know offensively for Louisiana Tech. He had 900 yards 2 years ago and missed last year with an injury. And, so he's back from that and played limited snaps. I think it was like 16 snaps and he had like 9 carries on those 16 snaps. So when he's in the game, the chances are he's probably going to get the ball. And, his longest rush was 12 yards, averaged 4.9 yards a carry. And he's their best playmaker. If NC State can shut them down, I think it's going to be very difficult. One area where the Pack has struggled so far on defense this season is just containing quarterbacks who can run. That won't be an area of concern in this matchup. They're going to start, assuming he's healthy, like their coach, Sonny Cumbie, said. Jack Turner, he left with a knee injury, and, the 6'5", 231-pound quarterback does not run much. He has like 90 career rushing yards on like 39 career attempts. Like he is a pocket passer in every sense of the word, right? So he started his season 4 of 8 for 70 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Louisiana Tech, they will stretch the field passing wise. They did finish the game with, I believe, let me pull it up. 6 passing plays over 20 yards against Nichols. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I think Tony Gibson said it on NC State's radio show this week. Like he felt good about how NC State held up in the downfield passing game. And it was the same against Western Carolina. So I feel pretty confident about them being able to slow down the Bulldogs' deep passing game.
Yeah, Tony Gibson was really excited about that. He talked about, going back to Tennessee for like a brief second. He talked about, worried that they were going to exploit down the field. And he felt really good that they were taking care of the ball in that sense of the field. And, 2 interceptions downfield passing last week for NC State after it didn't record an interception in week 1. Wolfpack leads the NCAA over the last 4 years with 54 interceptions, and they hope to grow that number this week. Forcing turnovers is a big part of Tony Gibson's defense, and they showed they could do it against a really good Tennessee team, which I think is positive. And if you can do that against Tennessee, you should be able to force plenty of turnovers this weekend against Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I saw the comment, and we didn't really talk about him Sunday, but Brandon Cisse had a really solid game. I think so far through 2 games, he's showing that he is, in fact, the hype was genuine for him this offseason. I think he's off to a very solid start this year, and maybe comes down with the pick this week or something. But I think the opportunities are going to be there. I was looking at Jack Turner's stats, and it's interesting. Usually when you go and you look at the pressure versus a clean pocket stats for a quarterback, the accuracy, the turnovers are way worse when you're under pressure, which obviously that makes complete sense. For Turner, he was kind of turning the ball over regardless. I don't think NC State really even needs to generate a lot of pressure. Doesn't really even need to heat him up that much to force bad decisions. And if I was a betting man, I'd bet that Tony Gibson is going to heat him up. I bet we're going to see plenty of pressure in this game. So I think they will have an opportunity to force quite a few turnovers. And even if the offense doesn't take a noticeable step forward, even if it continues to, I don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting a Tennessee performance, but maybe if they look a little closer to Western Carolina than they do, a lights out offense, then that wouldn't surprise me. But I think what I'm getting to is I think Louisiana Tech's offense is worse than Western Carolina's offense.
Yeah, it is. And I think the one last thing on blitzing, Tony Gibson also said this week on the Dave Dorner radio show that he kind of, looking back at it, wishes he pressured Nico more and wishes he brought more blitz. And if you think that Tony Gibson's a guy that's going to critique himself really hard, and I think we're going to see a bunch of blitzing this weekend. We're going to see different looks, different packages. This man's creative. He did admit the defense is not where it was a year ago. He said that they've played 1 quarter worth of to his standard, which was half of a quarter against Tennessee and half of a quarter against Western Carolina. So I'm pretty sure he's challenging this defense to go out there and play 4 quarters of what he's expecting. If they do that, this game could get really at hand if the offense can find a rhythm too.
Yeah, so Tennessee dropped back to pass 28 times against NC State, and Tony Gibson blitzed on 7 of them. That just feels super low for a Tony Gibson defense. And there was plenty of reasons why, with the dime package in and stuff like that, why they weren't sending as much heat. But, when they did blitz, he completed 2 of 6 passes for 67 yards and an interception. And also not included in that number is one time they blitzed and he rushed for like a 30-yard touchdown. So that's part of the reason why you don't, is because Nico is a really, really talented running quarterback as well and can escape the pocket and make plays. Jack Turner has not showed an ability to do that. I think they're going to be able to tee off, blitz, send pressure from a variety of positions and angles, and make life really difficult for the Louisiana Tech defense. It's what I expect out of this game. So that's pretty much the rundown for me on Louisiana Tech. I think that this is a team that they're picked 7th in the Conference USA before the season. They have a few preseason all Conference USA guys like Bert Hale is a really solid offensive lineman who starts at left guard for him. He's played 853 career snaps and allowed 13 pressures over his career. So really, really solid interior lineman, and it's going to be interesting to see how he matches up against, he'll probably be rushing against a variety of guys, whether it's Brandon Cleveland, Trevally Price, Davin Van, whoever. But he's 6'5", 348 pounds. So that is going to be a really interesting physical matchup with the Pack there. So keep an eye on him. And then we mentioned Colby Fields, the linebacker. He's a playmaker. Definitely the standout player from their defense. He didn't play last year, but is already starting to emerge as a potential star for this Louisiana Tech team. Now, let's talk about what we want to see from NC State. This is a Wolfpack team that was preseason top 25, had ACC, college football playoff championship aspirations, and it clearly has not met the bar that it wants to reach. What do you want to see the Pack do this week? What would have you leaving Carter Finley Stadium Saturday evening thinking, "Oh, okay, I'm feeling better about this team than I did when I arrived at the stadium"?
It's two things. It's both on offense. I think even in a 51-10 loss, it did not feel like the defense was the issue.
Well, it's the short fields, right?
The
Like
short fields. I mean, Tennessee ran 66% of its plays from inside the NC State side 50. So, I mean, you can't really complain about that. It's two things on the offensive side of the ball. It's one is running the ball. NC State has really only had one quarter where it ran the ball well. And that was the fourth quarter against Western Carolina, a tired defensive front that had held up really, really well through the first three. And finding consistency there is key, and I think it's really key against this team, which has a good run defense. Not going to lie, it does. And I think if NC State can average above 4 yards a carry against Louisiana Tech, I'm feeling pretty good. That's an improvement from where they've been basically the entire year so far. Number two, it's utilizing the outside receivers. We've seen a lot of Kevin Concepcion and Justin Jolie, two guys that run on the inside, part of the offense. I want to see them go outside, go out wide, find Wesley Grimes, find Noah Rogers, Dakari Collins. They have not gotten many, have not gotten many targets, have gotten many receptions. When you look at it as a whole, Jolie and Concepcion have combined for more than 50% of the targets and more than 50% of the receptions this year. Noah Rogers has, I believe, 5 receptions on the season. Yeah, 4 receptions for 50 yards on 5 targets. And then you can look at Grimes, who's a guy that's got 2 receptions, 37 yards, I believe, on 4 targets. So not a lot of targets through 2 games for either of the outside guys that were brought in to be a game-changing kind of player, especially Noah Rogers. And I think that NC State this weekend could prove that, they can throw to the outside. Dave Doran talked on the radio show a little bit, basically saying they know what they have there. It's not intentional that they're not going out there, but it's just how it's kind of working out right now. And, of course, they're going to lean on Kevin Concepcion. But I want to see him spread the ball out a little bit more and get a more even distribution, even though Concepcion most likely will lead the team in targets this weekend. No, we're going to get that later, but I bet he leads the team in targets, at least while the starters are in the game, if they are pulled at any point.
Yeah. I feel like we went into the Western Carolina game. We spent half the episode talking about seeing who was going to come in for the starters, and obviously that did not happen. So we'll focus on the starting lineup for today's podcast. I mean, you nailed it with the offensive points of focus. I mean, that's what. Yeah, you once if they start to establish a running game and they're staying ahead of the sticks a little bit, and they're in manageable down and distances, you're going to see the passing game open up. You will not see, Louisiana Tech's pass rush being able to tee off the same way on 3rd and 4 as they would on 3rd and 10. Like if they can establish a rushing attack, I think we'll see the passing game improve naturally. I think we saw that in the 4th quarter against Western Carolina, or even in the second half. So I think that as long as just generating any sort of a rushing attack is going to solve so many problems. It will have a chain reaction that helps everyone. Everyone. If NC State is averaging, more than 4 yards per carry, then you'll see Noah Rogers' numbers improve. You'll see Justin Jolie's numbers improve. You'll see, Casey continue. Casey's numbers are probably going to be good regardless. But Wesley Grimes, Dakari Collins, all of them are going to improve if you can, put together some semblance of a ground game. And you have the running backs to do it. The offensive line knows it needs to step up. They know what they need to improve on. And from talking to, the players and the coaches this week, maybe they're putting on a face for the media, but they didn't seem really that concerned. There's no sense of panic in the building right now from everything I can tell. The prevailing sentiment, I think, is at least by the end of the week, I think I was almost getting the sense of folks were thinking that we might be blowing this out of proportion. We're 2 games into the season, right? So I think they view themselves as a team that has a lot of room to grow, but also the capability of growing and improving. That's something I'm going to be interested to see. I mean, as far as the offensive line goes, this is a really old offensive line. There's a lot of experience. So that does raise the question of how much room is there to improve on these guys who have been, Division I football players for a long time. Where can they improve? I'm interested to see, because quite frankly, they need to take a step forward to propel this team to where it wants to be, and they know that. They own that. We talked to Anthony Carter, and he owned that this week. They know that they have a lot of stuff to improve on, and they're working to improve it. And I mean, you got to see a step forward this week, because next week you're back again playing another elite defensive front. So not much time, and I don't think we can make any sweeping conclusions from the Louisiana Tech game unless they really struggle. Then I think you can take away some sweeping conclusions. But you got to see some sort of a consistent running game, and then everything else will follow. Defensively, considering this is more of a drop back passing team with a pocket passing quarterback, I want to see some more sacks, man. NC State has 2 sacks so far this year. They didn't have a single one against Tennessee. Like, this is a team that usually, despite playing in a 3-man front, they're usually in, close to the top of, the sacks leaderboard in the ACC. So I think that we will see quite a bit of pressure. I think we'll see NC State kind of get back to who they usually are in that sense. And I think they're going to I'd certainly like to see out of them just, the defensive line being super disruptive, the linebackers making plays in the backfield, and NC State's, stuff percentage in the running game and, pass pressure and sacks numbers go up in this contest. Just overall disruption needs to go up. Secondary, I think it's been playing really well. So as long as that continues, and they get more pressure, I think this will be a dominant defensive effort from the Pack. Should we get into some predictions, Noah?
Yeah, I think we can fire off some quick predictions here.
All right, well, let's talk about the running game. Against Tennessee, NC State really, really struggled running the ball. Less than 40 yards rushing against the Volunteers.
Yep. 9. Well, I mean, they had, I believe, 9 rushing yards in the fourth quarter, which was all the offense they had in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So I think we both pick Jordan Waters last week to lead NC State in rushing, or did we?
No, I went with Hollywood. So I was right.
Yeah, you got that. Hollywood, I believe it was 7 for 25 rushing.
Yep, had the longest runs of the day.
Yeah, the only running back with a rush over 8 yards. So
the only running back that finished with double-digit numbers.
Right. So we're obviously not expecting that against Louisiana Tech. We are expecting them to take positive strides in that area and have more success. Who do you think is going to lead NC State in rushing this week?
I'm going to go with Hollywood Smothers again. I think he's just their most explosive back. He hits the hole, he goes. And I think that this is a big week for him. Jordan Waters was billed as the guy to do it. He just has had a problem breaking tackles this year. And I think that is kind of worrisome. We'll see if it continues. I think 3 games is a good sample size to be able to draw some early season conclusions from. So we'll see what happens this weekend. But I'm going to go with Hollywood Smothers just being a guy that can make teams pay once he hits the hole and gets through into that second level.
Yeah. I think besides KC, I think he's looked like the most explosive player on the team by a decent margin. I'm sticking with Jordan Waters. I think there's been, unfortunately, some social media pushback on the graduate running back. It's probably a good time to say, if you're a fan, don't take your anger out on players on social media. Like that does no one anyone good. But it's been 2 games, and in Jordan Waters' first game, yeah, he started slow, but he still ended with over 100 yards. Folks, don't give up on him. Don't give up on him. He is a experienced running back with proven production. He could easily go off this week. And Robert and I said it in his press conference this week. He's not blaming the running backs for the lack of rushing success. Like everyone else, the offensive line and receivers and tight ends, everyone needs to step up to help him out. And once that comes together, whatever improvement we do see out of that unit, Jordan Waters will be the beneficiary, as will the entire offense. But I certainly have not given up on the graduate running back. I'm going to pick him to lead NC State in rushing here and have a big game against Louisiana Tech. Let's talk about receivers. Last week, KC once again led the team in receiving. Noah, who are you going with this week to lead the pack against the Bulldogs?
Give me Noah Rogers. I think they're going to open up the outside receiving game. I think he's going to not lead them in receptions. I think KC does that, but I think he breaks off a big reception downfield to move the chains and move the offense. 30, 40-yard gain on one play will help him lead the team in receiving.
Yeah, I like the pick. I'm going to go with the safe option. I'm going to go with KC. I mean, he's KC Concepcion, same guy as last year. Has even looked better at points. It was curious how the targets kind of fell off for him in the second half of that game, but I mean, I feel like you almost have to throw most of that second half out the window because the game had already been decided. But KC, I think, will lead the team in receiving again. I really liked how they used him in the quick passing game early against Tennessee. Maybe we'll see that again. And then, of course, he has the ability to take a quick slant and turn it into a 60-yard gain at any moment. So I'll go with KC. I doubt Louisiana Tech has a defensive back that can keep up with him. But, hey, we'll see. That's why you play the games. But I'll go with KC to lead the team in receiving. What about tackling? Any predictions for who's going to lead the pack in tackling after Sean Brown did it this past week?
Yeah, we'll stick with the safe pick. The one I went with last week, Caden Fordham. He's played well this year, and I think he's going to lead them in tackles this weekend. Mike Linebacker. NC State's excited about him. He's played well every week so far that he has played. I mean, he played a few snaps against Western Carolina, but played well against Tennessee. So give me Caden Fordham to be I'm going to call my shot. Double digits tackles for Caden Fordham this week. I
think that's very reasonable, especially with the amount Louisiana Tech ran the ball. I think they're going to have a lot of opportunities as well to come up and make some stops. I agree. Caden Fordham would be my pick as well. I'm going to throw a little bonus prediction in there. I think Sean Brown leads the team with 2.5 sacks on Saturday. It's a bold one, but I think they're going to use him as a blitzer quite a bit, and he's going to make some plays, especially against a quarterback that he is much faster than. So we'll see how that all unfolds. Before we get out of here, let's talk about final score predictions. I think you can tell by the way we've talked about this game. We both think NC State is going to win this game, and we think they are going to win it fairly comfortably. But I want to hear your final score prediction, Noah, and any other last-minute takes you want to get off your chest before Saturday.
Yeah, 43-10, NC State. I think they get a commanding win at home, right the ship before going to Clemson. Kanoa Vincent continues to kick the ball well. He knocks through 43, which means about 3 field goals for Kanoa. I do think that the offense at times might stall, but his range is basically anything within 60. Talked to him yesterday. Great chat. You can check it on the Wolfpacker.com. Kind of his path to NC State, becoming a walk-on, earning a scholarship, being NC State's kicker. 43-10. Wolfpack get right before going to Death Valley and what probably is their biggest game of ACC play.
It's a get-right game, and I agree. I think they will win very comfortably. I was slightly less bullish on the offense's production, but I think they will be the beneficiary of some turnovers, some short fields, and they will capitalize on that, and I think they're going to win 34-3. I think the defense is going to dominate this game. I mean, they give up 50 points for the first time since 2019. I am sure they are fired up and ready to. They're not. It's not going to be any worries of taking an opponent lightly this week. They're going to come out focused. They're going to come out motivated, and I think they're going to shut Louisiana Tech down. This is a good matchup for NC State. Just talent aside, I think the schemes match up in a really good way where NC State can really, really shut this Bulldog squad down, hold them to a field goal, and score a few times, 34 points, and get out of there and get ready for Death Valley next week. The only thing I'll shout out, I don't think we've mentioned it, Louisiana Tech was on a bye last week. They had the extra week of rest to prepare for NC State. I'm sure we're going to see some weird stuff. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at the Wolfpack, but we'll see how prepared they are. I'm sure NC State's ready for whatever trickeration that the Bulldogs try to pull. But either way, we both feel confident in NC State winning this game. bouncing back, improving the 2-1, and we're going to really learn things if when this team goes down the Death Valley, and we'll see if we come away with any other big takes after this game against the Bulldogs. That's it for us, folks. Thank you all for tuning in and watching another week of the Wolfpacker Show. We will be back on Sunday to recap everything that happened and talk about what we got right and what we got wrong and what we learned about the Wolfpack. We will talk to you all later, and thanks again for tuning in.